Woke up late, charts on fire, red and green like a funeral pyre. Discord screaming LFG, but my portfolio's haunting me. Spiked my coffee with regret. Last night I longed to break out bet. Now I'm broke, not broken yet. Just one more pump, I won't forget. Buy high, die huddling. The gen brain dopamine's controlling. Ride the whale or get wrecked clean. This crypto dream's a guillotine. Fake guru with 1,000 subs showed me coins in shady clubs. Promised moons, Lambos and jets. Now I'm left with JPEGs and debts. Scalped my soul in a 5-minute chart. Market dumped and it ripped my heart. But I'll reload, I'll play to win. Even if I lose it all again. Buy high, die huddling. Gas fees burn, but I keep rolling. Almost gone, greed's the king. This crypto dream's a punk rock thing. Diamond hands with the crack in the glass. Risk it all, no brakes, full gas. Liquidation, call me sweet. Whisper welcome to defeat. No stop loss, no regrets. Code and chaos, no safety nets. Satoshi's ghost in my DMs. Told me to ape again and again. Buy high, die huddling. Gas fees burn, but I keep rolling. If I crash, at least I tried. In this wild west of blockchain rise. I'll be trading till the lights go out. Shots of noise, but I live for the sound. One candle spike, and I'm back in town. Crypto's a fight, and I'm 10 toes down. Diamond hands with the crack in the glass. Risk it all, no brakes, full gas. But I will.
What's up, guys? How's it going? I hope you had an awesome day so far. Well, we got the chat. We got Sterling, Noah. How you doing, guys? Coma, Chow. What's up? Andrew, Brett, Wagner. How you doing, Wagner? Chow and I have a call right after this one, around 1 o'clock. What's up, Remus? How you guys doing? Oh, we might be getting an SFP right now as we speak on a 3-minute. It confirms now. It just confirmed. We just swept this low right here. The technical target is this high. When we had our most recent proper pullback. And we're going into a 15-minute order block. Okay, so let's go over the price action here. We had a little bit of a drop. We got into this valley area right here. We built what's called an Adam and Eve structure. And that's when you see a spike up like this and then a rounded top, right? They could be equal to each other. One could be higher than the other. This one's that descending Adam and Eve. And they give you a warning sign that things are about to reverse. There's an inverse Adam and Eve as well. People call that the stiletto pattern sometimes. Depends on what community you're in. But it is called an Adam and Eve. We broke that neckline. We had the confluence of losing the valley area. We had the confluence of losing the VWAP. And we just kind of like teleported to its technical target. The momentum-based target is found by grabbing the resistance, the downtrending resistance, finding the neckline, which is right here, and you just click and you drag, and then that's the momentum, right? And then the moment you see the breakout, you find the target. And we smashed right through that target. I don't think anyone could have. There's some people that did enter this. We had some members in the community that entered that, but by the time the confirming candle closed for me in the time frame that I was looking at, you'd have to be jumping in on the active candle, unless you're on like the 1 minute time frame. And the confirming candle for me was like too low and ate up half the profits. But we did have continuations that allow us to break through the 50-day EMA. And I was anticipating for this to be the range low of this range. So I didn't take the trade thinking that we would continue through it. I saw that as a barrier or a threat for a continuation, but we ended up getting it. We fell into this demand zone next. And this demand zone had the confluence of a previous point of control. If we zoom out so we can find out where that valley area came from, it was from this range here that had a lot of influence over our price action, right? So we had failure for acceptance here, never got that proper higher high, so we were able to use it to help us for this drop. We saw the confluence of the 50-day EMA and the valley area high here for this rejection. And then here we got proper acceptance for a targeted extension to the valley area high here. And then we ended up using it as support alongside with the 50-day EMA, generating this short-term range. But now we're starting to get acceptance back into the valley area, warning us that we could rotate to the valley area low again, which is like at 110K, but we have confluences suggesting that we can go down further. We have a liquidity cluster right here. A liquidity cluster, for those who don't know, just think of it as an area where there's not just one price point where there's a lot of liquidity, there's multiple price points, so it creates a range of liquidity in one spot. And that all starts at 111,150. And we have new liquidity that was just added in the 24-hour from this bounce, this change of character, induced liquidity to be just above this area. So around like 111,200. We have some liquidity resting there too. So we have more reasoning to kind of like continue down, unfortunately. But we're kind of at that make it or break it moment right now that's going to define whether or not we're going to get that reversal, get this double bottom neckline break, and then come back towards this range again. So this is kind of an important spot. If we are going to get a bounce, it will either be right where we are, right? We're trying to SFP here on like the 12-minute, the 15-minute. Oh, not the 15. Sorry. We got it on the 5. We pretty much almost hit the target already. So if we get that full body candle close below this area here, we'll have a proper break of structure. And our next little key area of interest, our last key area of interest before losing the point of control support and likely falling down to here, is this 112K level where the point of control is, and this wick level is for a potential SFP sweep. During the call this morning with the community, because we have a trade hunted call in the morning at 9:30, we took a short on Zcash. We have lots of confluence for this short. I'm not going to explain it to you. You're not too late for it if you technically would like to enter it now. It's up to you. So if we zoom out on Zcash in the macro picture, Zcash just did a sweep, a legacy SFP off of its previous all-time high, right? And Bitcoin just did that. When Bitcoin did that, that's what was the structural conduit to the massive crash that we had. That was the front run to the technical target of 108K. Obviously, we didn't expect news to come out to cause it to amplify the speed of that drop so dramatically. But we did have that technical target on the daily structure for Bitcoin when that did occur. And that's basically what just occurred for Zcash on the daily when we swept that level. And we're getting in on like the retracement right now. And we're using lower time frames to dictate our entry. And I'll explain the lower time frame reasoning for our entry in a moment. But our technical target for the daily SFP is down here at $228 on Zcash. This is the most recent time we had a proper pullback. Now that may be the technical target, but we do have barriers that could prevent us from hitting that target, of course. We have that previous value high. We are testing this previous high here right now as we speak. That's what's inducing the current pullback as we speak. We zoom in on the 15-minute. It kind of tells us the story as to why we entered the short now. So here, we lost the uptrending momentum. We fell down through there. We jumped in just before this crash. We jumped in on this little secondary, not just after the doji. Every doji tells a story of an incomplete confirmation, and then we kind of got in on that. We swept the previous highs, giving us like an SFP. And now we're kind of coming down. We just tapped into this demand zone, mitigated a 30-minute order block that helped induce this pullback here. So stop loss should be above this wick. And the low time frame target for like the 15-minute sweep is down here at 311, in hopes that we break this for a continuation down to start going towards our daily SFP target. That's a big ask, but if we get at least to here, that's two. Depending on where your stop loss is, you're roughly getting a 1 to 3. Now, H bar is also losing a parabolic curve break. We just mitigated the supply concern. So now it's just about the structure for H bar. The structure is kind of messy. We had the opportunity after we broke this low right here. We had the bearish change of character. So at that point, if you didn't like the R&R because your stop loss suggestion was way up here, you'd have to use Fibonacci to try to get it on the retracement. So pulling from this low to this high gave us a golden pocket. That was kind of like the last kind of opportunity to jump in. And even structurally, it's very like, you'd have to be jumping in on a limit order and not using low time frame structure to define the reversal, like a bearish change of character internally on like the 3-minute. But yeah, we lost that parabolic curve into the supply. So if we lose this horizontal support that we're building right now off of this previous high here, then we can start seeing H bar coming down towards these lows, and we can target like 1935 here, whereas that's like the lowest wick level, and we have a order block here as well, kind of waiting for us on the 15-minute time frame. Let's go back to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, the make it or break it moment that we would need to see for like the reversal, if we want the reversal, we need to break above this neckline here, giving us like a double bottom into a local valley area. And we could see us coming back towards targeting this valley area high, but we have the 15-minute orb in our face. We have the VWAP in our face. So by the time that were to confirm, it's a little high risk. So you definitely want to try to find a way to front run that. And our front run opportunity would be here on this potential SFP. So if we get the SFP there, depending on what time frame we get the SFP on, we'll probably get this as our technical target in hopes that we get the change of character to extend our target to the valley area high. And that way you have time to react if this VWAP or the 15-minute orb is a problem. Chat is going wild here. Okay. So it's mostly Chow. What's up, man? I think Kyle is muted. Can you guys not hear me? My system says you guys can hear me. Let me just go through my properties really quick. Yeah, proper mic connected. Showing volume waves when I speak. I think we're good. Okay, OT says we're good, so we're probably good. Okay, let's go to the chat. I know I kind of went through like a speed rant there, but it's mainly because I want to get you guys as much information as I could before this potential SFP occurs, because sometimes when we come down to sweep stuff, it's so quick that you might not be able to react. So again, to repeat, we could get the SFP here. The last kind of form of support that we have before coming down to start attacking the liquidity down here. And we do have a decent amount there. So if you're thinking like a market maker and you want to have an entry plan or an exit plan on shorts, this is a good spot. And locally, we are getting like a 5-minute SFP. We got it on this candle. The confirming candle of the SFP basically hit the target, so just got to be a little careful. 3-minute, let's see, we got 3-minute SFP. And we're getting a double sweep if we're looking at the 3-minute. It's not looking strong. We got internal momentum here. 3-minute order block in our face. See what happens. But I'm kind of hopeful for this low here to be taken. And I'm kind of biased because I'm in a short, so I'm kind of secretly hopeful that we just break right through this so it carries Zcash down. Zcash does tend to move a little bit on its own lately. We were talking about that a lot. One of our members, Caliber, brought it up that Zcash kind of has relative strength and relative weakness a lot, moving on its own. And it's likely just because Zcash has had a wild run to the upside, right? So when you have a crazy pump like this, you tend to shift to end up having your own relative weakness. Even when things are pumping, Zcash could be dropping because it's exhausted while everything else isn't, right? Because we're at all-time highs. 100% of people are at a profit pretty much right now with Zcash for anyone who accumulated it during the last cycle. So those people that were trapped in the last cycle's spark of the bear market, this is their opportunity to get out. And most people, unfortunately, when things return to their price after holding it for so long, normally get out at break even. Okay. So that's Zcash. In a short on that. Bitcoin, there was a great opportunity for a short here when we tapped into the supply and got this SFP. And the technical target for the SFP was reached on the 3-minute when we broke here. It was reached on the 15-minute when we tapped here. And then we had that change of character giving you a target extension. And because we're in a valley area like this, your target extension would just be the valley area low, potentially the extreme lows down here. We'll see how it goes. Right now, we got that kind of descending double bottom. SFP could be the conduit to give us that change of character, similar to what we had here, where this SFP was the spark to bring us down to that bearish change of character. So the opposite could occur again. Just ping-ponging with SFPs into change character to opposite sides of the valley area. We just printed a 5-minute order block from this doji reaction here, engulfing candle. We're at the momentum. So you'll see if this 5-minute order block's enough to tap and push it up to break, or if we're going to mitigate this and get us that break of structure. I have a dark curtain here, and it somehow moved. Oh yeah, I lowered my desk. That's probably how it moved. Hey Cal, please let us know what do you think about the quantum computer that could hack Bitcoin and every other password in the world in 2 to 3 years. Like a lot of people say. The technology can do that, yes. But I don't want you guys freaking out about the quantum computer being used for something like that, because it's being used for much more important crap than trying to... And think about the people that have a quantum computer, like Google, Microsoft. These people are under a spotlight when it comes to that stuff. So who are they going to point fingers at? Because you can't just have a quantum computer in your office. You need an area that blocks radiation, that is able to be held in a spot that basically is lower than the temperature of space. Like, not everyone's going to have a quantum computer do stuff like that. And I could see technology evolving to something like that, but I can also see the defense technology evolving along with it. So if you're super nervous about stuff like that, stop saving your passwords on your browser. If Bitcoin's going to crumble, I don't think it would be from a quantum computer event. I think it's more likely to occur from a solar flare, if I'm being honest. But I wouldn't be worried about it, man. Have you got a tree behind you? I do. Or a troll. I have a troll behind me. I have, to my left, a fake bamboo tree. But I stopped putting it behind me because Wagner is shunning me every time I have it in the background. There's no light in this area, in this room, so plants can't survive. So unless you guys know plants that can survive without photosynthesis, I'm sure there are, but it's the troll Kramer. You guys can't see his face, but we couldn't fit the troll head on there because it's 9 feet tall and this room is 8 feet tall. So I took the head off and replaced it with a different troll head, and I gave it to I put the Jim Cramer's head on there because I was like, what's the other biggest troll that we know in this space? So Sterling went out and printed out Kramer's head for me, and we cut it out and he stuck it on there. Looks great. What would you think would happen if Satoshi's wallet became active? Well, I think that it would induce fear, and there would be a sell-off event trying to front-run Satoshi potentially selling. If this is some kind of... Let's pretend that Satoshi's reasoning was to try to, I don't know, rug the government or something like that. Because they're now getting involved in accumulating. I would think it would be a later game than that when we start seeing, Bitcoin a lot bigger, adopted in the form of a world currency, world reserve currency. And at that point, it becomes stable enough where if he sold everything, it would create a correction, of course, but it wouldn't be like driving it to zero. I consider his wallets burned. Like, I don't consider them something that would be reactivated. Get some mushrooms, says LG. Okay, anyone know what time the FOMC meeting is at? Yes, 2 o'clock. If I pull this up, at 2 Eastern, sorry. Okay, let's see. Yeah, GMT time. Is that what it's saying? Eastern time, yeah, Canada. We got it at federal funds rate prediction of dropping 0.25 basis points. And I think it likely will, because the jobs are not looking great thanks to AI. AI is a good thing and a bad thing, but right now it's affecting a lot of our jobs. So now is a good time to be a trader, guys, because you never know what jobs could be replaced. Like Amazon's doing a good job at replacing even white-collar jobs now. They just lost 14. We were talking about that this morning too. 14,000 white-collar jobs were taken. So that's going to have an impact on the jobs report whenever we actually get that. FOMC statement, yeah. So FOMC statement, federal funds rate, 2 o'clock and to 2:30ish. So just be aware that the market will likely become volatile if you're not already in an existing position. And let's say the price action is close to your active entry, you're going to feel a little cautious because you can get wicked out. Kind of like where our Zcash trade is right now, right? It's maybe going on our side. Maybe things are looking good right now, but we could get a whipsaw candle and knock us out. So give yourself some breathing room. I gave myself some breathing room with the stop loss. I used a 50% deviation from the wick to the body of the confirming candle for my stop loss guard, especially since this could evolve into a more of a swing trade. Starting as a scalp, treating it like a scalp. But if we break these lows, instead of reversing off of them, then it could convert into a swing trade. And we're going to hold it for a little while longer. Bitcoin, yeah, getting squeezed. So that looks like when we mitigated that 5-minute order block here that we created, we did get the bounce, but the downtrending momentum is stronger. You can use the order books as a tool to guide you into seeing if people are respecting this trend line as resistance until you see the order books kind of clear. The order books, unfortunately, has been a lot less reliable than it usually is because, like, look at it, we have a massive sell wall right here, right? Now, what's been happening lately is these sell walls have been rotating back and forth between each side. And there's a crazy amount of manipulation going on. And I used to use these as a crystal ball to tell me, okay, all my rules are met. I look both ways. Oops, there's a sell wall in my face. Can't enter that long, right? Or, oops, there's a buy wall in my face. Can't enter that short. So until this is mitigated, I'm not going to give anyone a buy signal, right? because I know that this is going to induce the price to go down. There's like 1,200 Bitcoin here ready to be sold at the price point of 112,680. So if I go over here and mark that on my chart, let's go to edit this thing. Oh, I didn't mean to set an alarm. Coordinates 112,680. So right here, big sell wall, massive sell wall. All right, we are just SFPing this low right now. So let's see if this confirms. This is a 5-minute candle. We just swept the low, bounced off the POC. Now, we just checked the order books. We saw there's a sell wall here. So the technical target for this SFP, if it confirms as one, we have 1 minute and 24 seconds left on the 5-minute. The technical target is here, and the sell wall is there. So you'd want to undercut that sell wall by at least $10. What a wild move, though. The stop loss guard would be here, and by the time it confirms, you're not going to have the R&R. So you need to have the pullback between the invalidation point and the confirmation. The invalidation point being the low of the wick. What's the 15-minute look like? 15-minute looks like a big fat doji. Chow saying everyone ready for Powell to pull a fast one. I don't think so. Powell keeps keeping his job. I'm sure that guy's stressed out with Trump always threatening to replace him. Close below here, that'd be pretty sweet. Anyone who's got in the short, this is your chance to see an extension on your trade. Come down here. See how it closes. If it closes above this wick, we have a confirming SFP. Okay, so 5-minute invalidated as an SFP. 15-minute invalidated as an SFP. Hourly still active. 30 minutes left. Don't think we'll get it though. We're losing the point of control. Once we close below the point of control, it gives the opportunity of the previous point of control to act as resistance. Same thing with everything else. Value lows, VWAP. When we close above or below it, gives the opportunity to act as support resistance. So we're getting that opportunity now. Let's see if we bounce off of this or not. So all we really got left in terms of time frames that I would trust is maybe, the hourly for SFP. The hourly technical target, if we get the SFP, would be this wild wick, actually. It's our most recent candle pullback, but I would target the bodies in a scenario like that. I wouldn't expect for it to go right to the wick. We have the value area high confluence. We have an hourly order block confluence. We have the POC at the floor of the hourly order block. So if we do confirm an SFP here, we'd have to watch this as a barrier. We know there's a massive sell wall here suppressing the price right now as we speak. Let's do an update on that. So if we go to here, sell wall still there. So it looks like that sell wall it probably is a form of manipulation, of course, but at least it's not ping-ponging back and forth between the buy side and the sell side. So we can actually trust this one a bit, even if it's a non-intentional fill. Oh, look at that. Just as I say we could trust it, they pull it. Okay. So that was a non-intentional fill. They are becoming more and more common lately. What's the purpose Bitcoin serves after CBDCs? Oh, bro. CBDCs will be the fuel to the fire that is Bitcoin, right? So CBDCs is going to siphon the GBP. People will use that to buy Bitcoin. I think it'd be better. Now, we all know that the Bitcoin has supply, right? CBDCs do not. They can print that crap infinitely, right? So they'll be backing it to one-to-one reserves, just like USDT, right? They'll be backing it, hopefully, with the one-to-one reserve. And it seems like that's the way the regulation's going with that. So I think CBDCs, as much as I hate the idea of them, I think that they will help pump crypto in general and not be something negative or replacement of it. There's only 21 million Bitcoin, but they can keep minting more and more CBDCs. And every day, every passing day, statistically, we are losing 14 Bitcoin from lost wallets. So we're burning, even though it doesn't have the tokenomics built into Bitcoin to burn, like we do see with some of these newer tokens to reduce the supply. People keep losing. Unfortunately, people also pass away, and those tokens get lost. The coins get lost, basically creating a higher and higher floor value of Bitcoin. So 14 Bitcoin per day is what gets lost. So that should be something that you think of when you're thinking about investing in an asset. Is what's the tokenomics of it? Does it is supply being constantly increased, right? Or is supply decreasing? Is supply fixed? Is this inflationary rate sustainable 10 years from now? Would I want to hold this 10 years from now? Those are all questions you should ask yourself before you invest in something. Yes, there are some assets with crazy inflation rates that you'd probably want to invest in the very, very short term, but it's not something that you want to hold long term. Think of assets like DEXs, right? Pancake swap, Uniswap, stuff like that. Those are ones that you wouldn't want to hold long term unless they adjust their tokenomics, because they're just constantly minting in order to create their reward system. So anything that casts out rewards usually has inflation. Hey Kyle, that streak of sunlight in your eyes not bothering it? It's like your eyes are they're definitely getting, my right eye is getting, fired up. But I'm fine. I'll hold through it. 7 p.m. Oh yeah. What's up, Ryan? Thanks for jumping on so late, man. Okay, what do we got in the... We want to do the long setup here, Alex B. To answer your question on that, the only opportunity that we have left for this to confirm as an SFP is on the hourly. But based on lower time frame structure and how we close below the point of control, we're going to give the point of control an opportunity to act as resistance as well as this lower low. So I think that we're likely going to see continuations down and maintain the pace of this momentum and start taking liquidity from here. We just grabbed the order blocks from this area. So we're getting a little bit of a bounce off of it. But if we zoom out and we look at the time this impulse move started before we broke out of this valley area, we can find out how long it's been, right? So we click on the measurement tool on your left here, and you click and you drag. You find out how much time has passed, and 4 days is how much time has passed. So we can go to the liquidation heat map, and we want to try to wrap around that time. So we'll go to the week because it wraps around 4 days, and then we can look at the liquidity behavior. We can see we have a crap ton of liquidity below us, and right below these lows, right here, is where it starts to get really hot in the heat map. So when we're coming down to take it now as we speak. And like I said at the beginning of this live, we did have this bounce here, this change of character that also induced liquidity below us. But it is pretty low because people are using lower leverage for once. Maybe they learned their lesson from the last crash that we had. So we at 111, 335, we have a pinpoint level of $76.22 million worth of liquidity, but we have a cluster that's much larger than that in liquidity. If we were to add this cluster together, it looks like it's close to like $500 million, and it all kind of like starts at 111,335, and it comes and scales all the way down to 110,197 before we get this little cold spot here. So we're likely going to see a bounce around that area. If we were to find where that is on the charts, it's right here is where I'm eyeballing for that majority of the cluster there. It should be helping our Zcash short. Yeah, Zcash is looking weak. It's coming down alongside Bitcoin. Let's zoom in on the 15-minute for a second. Get a little bit of bounce. We need that brick structure, follow through, lose the VWAP. So this is our main little barrier concern that we looked at when we took the trade. It did induce this bounce. So we need to have the break that low and get below this VWAP so we can have the VWAP act as a forward barrier to protect our capital up here. And at that point, you can move your stop loss to break even. So once we get below this, we close below it. I would give it some time as well for that another follow-up break of structure. And at that point, stop loss above here, especially if you want this to convert into a potential swing trade. You got to give it an additional break of structure breathing room. You don't want to be right above the active break of structure. You want to give it a little bit of breathing room on the one just behind it. So that's what I'll be waiting for with Zcash before I move my stop loss to break even to protect my capital. I only risk to lose $100 in this trade. So worst case scenario, well, not worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, we lose the trade. But we could end up getting around $200, $300 here. But if we hit that technical target, we're looking at $1,000 for the daily SFP target. We got a doji below the POC, a candle of, people call it the candle of indecision. I call it the candle, basically it's a warning that a decision's about to be made. Because if you dissect a doji, it's always an incomplete confirmation. I'll show you when this candle closes in about 5 minutes, depending on how it closes. And what I mean by that. No signal for the Zcash trade or someone else's trade. I couldn't give the signal on time. We went to the Zcash chart and we saw the SFP occur, and this SFP already occurred, and we just kind of aped into it. So I didn't get a chance to cast it as a signal inside the Discord, unfortunately. I know it sucks because some people, they can't attend the trade hunting calls, so they miss out on some trades. It's just the fast ones, man. I can't type them out in time. Damn, bro, you're looking lightened today. Yeah, it's that blinding heavenly light coming right through that curtain. I have a curtain. That's the worst part. I lowered my desk yesterday for a video I'm recording, and I think I moved the dark curtain out of the way a bit. Coma saying XRP looks so clean now. Let's take a peek at XRP and see how it's doing. Any assets that's sweeping their that crash wick low, it's probably looking good right now. There we go. Okay, so we have this little demand zone here. We got bounced off this high of this demand zone and maintained above this previous value area high. Let me zoom out a bit just see where that one came from. Okay, I remember. The consolidation that occurred right after reaching above the previous highs, previous macro highs. So we had this great reset because a massive portion of people are in profit here. So you want XRP to range as much as possible right now to shake out the people that are in profits and create a reset for new investors. And then we got the higher high, shook out more, then that massive crash. We have more, broad momentum here that we can watch out for. Let's sync it to the bodies. We can delete some of this noise. I believe this was one of the lives that we had. Friday. We're looking at the break of this double bottom leading into the target of this value area high, but it breached right past that target. So congrats to anyone who took that. Right now, it looks like XRP is looking a little weak above that previous macro high that we're just looking at. And we got some deviation away from the active local value area right here. So we're kind of in between two key areas of interest, right? We're bouncing between this, oops, my bad, didn't mean to do that. This valley area high here and this valley area low. You anticipate that this would act as resistance, but we didn't really breach past these lows acting as resistance. So here we kind of hit our head off that area. We broke a regression trend to the downside. Now we kind of got this rounded top price action. So it's telling us a story of a lack of confidence. When you see a rounded top, it's telling you that the volume is starting to dwindle. The confidence of traders that are usually buyers are dwindling. And then all we kind of really need is a break of the low, an acceptance into this previous macro valley area. And then we can start seeing it come down and rotate to this valley area high, the local one that can act as support. See what happens. Because as Bitcoin's falling, it's going to induce the pairing liquidity that we have with XRP. Because I know XRP has a lot of pairing liquidity with Bitcoin. So it manipulates the price action to kind of follow it. We're getting another break of structure right now with XRP. We double topped. This was our change of character where you'd flip bearish. You'd pull a fib. If you didn't like the stop loss, the stop loss suggestion after the confirmation. I could see a lot of people entering a short on that. But knowing that demand's here and that the stop loss is kind of high, you could use fibs to pull from the low to the high and see if it hits like the golden pocket area, and it did. So this could have been a limit order entry because all the rules have been met for a short already, right? So you could have a limit order entry there in hopes that it gets filled, and then you would pray for that break of structure follow through, and then you can move your stop loss from here, which is what I would recommend if you took a limit order like this. And you can rotate that stop loss once this candle closes below here to pretty much where your break even would be. But yeah, we lost momentum, bearish change of character, closed below the VWAP. So some people looked at that as enough. But if you don't like the R&R, then you don't take it. Try to look for the retracement. The target that I'll be watching out for, yeah, be cautious if you're in a short like this, of this lows here. But if they break, expect that continuation down to like 251. Dutchy, is this the real Kyle Chismore? It is, yeah. So just make sure when you're getting those messages in your DMs that it is the real Kyle Chismore, because I won't message you first. I'll reply to you, but I won't message you first. Manny Boy, Kyle, I'm trying to implement order blocks into valley areas because I'm having a lot of success with order blocks recently. Would you ever take a trade in a valley area of order blocks at the tops or lows of? Yeah, it's great confluence. It's not confluence that I seek, but it's confluence that I like. So when they're, like you said, above or below a valley area, I add more weighted importance to those order blocks. So if we see, let's say for example, an SFP sweep into an order block, which isn't very common by the way, or if we see a change of character resulting from tapping an order block at a valley area low or at a valley area high, then yeah, that's an amazing confluence, man. You can even make it a rule saying that I will not enter a trade unless we mitigate a X time frame order block, right? At a valley area high or at a valley area low, and build a strategy just based off that. It will reduce the amount of opportunities you get because there's not always order blocks waiting for you above and below a valley area. But if you're going to trust an order block more than others, you'd trust those ones over ones that are internal to a valley area, because that additional confluence is great. There could be residual sell orders or residual buy orders and order blocks. That's why we use them, because that's what the evidence is telling us based on structure, that there's a chance of those residual orders. And you can use the order books to see if other people are agreeing with that area too. If there's a buy wall waiting for you at an order block, you expect a reaction. Bitcoin coming down, nice. Okay, how's Zcash doing? Zcash coming down. We want that full body candle close below the wick here. preferably right below that VWAP. Then my next area of concern after this, I would be expecting a bounce off of these previous highs to like retest the VWAP and potentially this previous demand zone. And then that lower low, I'll be moving my stop loss for sure, securing my gains and protecting my capital. Put a 1 in the comments if you jumped in the Zcash trade. You smashed the like? Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Link to Zcash chart. I don't know if we have a link to the Zcash chart. Let's take a look. To find that out, go to the welcome chat or any chat inside the Discord server. Just type in !point charts. Right, you get a DM from the bot. Yes, we have a Zcash chart. It's right near the bottom. I added it recently alongside the wormhole, Zcash, and Esther chart. I started accumulating Esther, so I got to keep an eye out on it. But yeah, Zcash charts there, man. And if you're a member or not, you have access to this. Okay. 1. Okay, cool. Sterling, you jumped in it. Nice, man. Everyone who's interested. Oh, thanks, Sterling. Appreciate that, bro. Oh, Dutchie's singing me a song. I could start our own music video. Be blinded by light. Yeah, blinded by light. We'll sing that one too. They are not cutting rates. What to do? There's a. Yeah, they could slim. If they don't cut rates, it shouldn't really have. It might have a brief impact on the charts. But I think the chances of cutting rates at least one time before the year ends is pretty high, based on the state of the economy. They're predicting that they're going to reduce it by 0.25 basis points. Anyone who has a mortgage is going to be happy. Okay. What's the full TP for Zcash? Well, we have a conservative target. This is I know it doesn't seem conservative, but we have a conservative target of $311. That is the 15-minute SFP target. We have a daily SFP target that I'm eyeballing like crazy. So if we break these lows, guys, the technical target is way down here where my little scribble art is. Because we had a legacy SFP. If we zoom out really far from the all-time high, the previous all-time high right here. And let's get this click from here to here. Let's get our style going here. Yeah, so we swept this high here, getting us that SFP. And the last time we had an SFP like this was on Bitcoin. If we zoom in on Bitcoin on the daily, and excuse my mess here, my noise. I know my daily chart's chaos. I need to organize my object tree so that I can flicker things on and off. But yeah, we had this SFP here on the daily, giving us a technical target of $108,000 from this low. And I was super cautious about it. I did close my trade too soon. I was worried about this being a problem, but the news just teleported the price to the target. I'm not expecting Zcash to do the same, but Bitcoin currently is dropping and helping pull Zcash towards at least the local target. And when we get, so we just treat this area here as the local area as your primary target in hopes that we have a full body candle close below these lows and that we don't find support, right? So we find support around here, then I would take some off the table, at least take some off the table. if we close below this area and we have it act as resistance, then our next area of concern is way down here at 273. The previous value area highs, the ceiling is there. So if you're just going to take it safe, let's say you have to go to sleep, just set a limit order to close around here for at least a partial amount. The conference is on right now. What do you mean it's on right now? Rate cuts aren't happening this month. Okay, cool. All right, then we have our answer. I'll triple check that in a couple hours just in case. When it updates on Forex Factory. Or we mitigate this full demand zone. Now we just need to fight against that VWAP there. If we close below the VWAP, then we have the VWAP opportunity to act as resistance. We have 6 minutes left on this candle. We obviously don't want it to SFP because it gives it a technical target of our entry. So we're going to be reactive to that. Don't take too much heavy weighted. Don't close too much of your trade if you're going to react to an SFP. Because you want to have your weighted net R&R to be at least above a 1 to 2 after closing your full trade. What's Bitcoin doing? Still coming down, grabbing that liquidity. Nice. We can delete this. This is definitely invalidated. But this is an area where you'd prepare for potential longs. Even better if we come down here and sweep this low at 109.68. So I wouldn't feel bad if there's no opportunity here, guys, because it'll just give you a better opportunity if we come down here. Because this is a massive previous value area, right? If we're going to be trading anywhere in a value area, you would want it to be at a value area low. So even though there's liquidity here, there's still more down here. And we could get that SFP sweep below this value area from a slight deviation to the value area and have that return back up to potentially the value area high. And we're creating supply concerns right now as we speak that we'll have to watch along the way. But yeah. All I'm just trying to say is be patient if this doesn't give us the reversal structure that we want. Because it just means we'll get a better opportunity somewhere else. Hey, what streaming platform are you using for this live? I'm using OBS. It's free to use. Streamlabs desktop OBS. There's still things about it that I need to learn. I got this Stream Deck that I bought a year ago, and I haven't even plugged it in yet. There's a combination of not having any time to do anything, but and like having to have the time to learn how to use it. There's so many things I want to do for our lives that I just need to learn a few things first before I can jump into that. But yeah, OBS Streamlabs is what I use. It's free to use too. I used to use StreamYard, but the quality was lower and it cost money. And what I really liked about StreamYard is there's just some features that OBS does not have. But the customization, like I like OBS because it feels like you're using Photoshop. Like you can literally change anything you want. Brandon, rate cuts in 2 hours? No. Yeah, that's what I thought. But apparently there's a conference going on that kind of front run that FOMC meeting that someone was saying in the chat. I've seen it happen before, so I definitely believe him. Has Blowfin given you any update on the conditional order feature? They haven't. I was talking to them 3 times about it because they were struggling with it. What the concept actually is. But after talking to them recently, they seem to have a really good understanding of it. And it's not something that's usually pretty quick to build, but once they build that, guys, oh boy. It's a game changer for swing traders. Oh, thanks and good luck. No problem, man. Sol holding pretty good. Thanks, Manny Boy. Let's take a look at Solana, see how it's doing. Sol has some relative strength, you're saying. I feel like it let its... No, maybe it didn't lead its drop, but... It looks a lot like Bitcoin, actually. We had this demand zone that we wanted to hold, and it didn't. It failed. If we look at the comparison to Bitcoin, you know, it had a demand zone that you kind of wanted to hold. It didn't. It fell through it. So it doesn't really have relative strength, but it is kind of holding off of its previous point of control. There's this valley area here that we were trading within the past. If we zoom out, we can see where it came from. Right here. Had a lot of influence over helping us predict for that recent short right here, right? When we're at a previous valley area high, you kind of treat it like it's an active one, right? Especially if there's some age behind these. Jump your short, target the valley area low. Now this chop would have definitely induced you to probably close your trade around this demand zone, right? On Solana. So expecting that full rotation down after seeing that much chop, I can understand why people might have closed it sooner, especially off this tap here. But now we're kind of just recently bounced off that previous valley area low. I'm expecting us to potentially, now that we're getting below this VWAP, let's delete this. This is just noise now. If we close below the VWAP, get below the point of control, yeah, I think we can see us taking the liquidity from this uptrend here, or this regression trend that we had before we broke to the upside, and prepare for longs at 191. Yeah, 190, 192 is the valley area low. We can delete this too. Let me undo that delete. I'm going to reuse that. We got a order block here that we can prepare for a little bounce off of for any scalp traders. If you take a scalp trade off this 15-minute, obviously it's going to depend on what kind of structure we have, but I'll be watching this POC as a barrier. Sometimes when you fall into previous trends, you adopt it, right? If you guys ever noticed a scenario where you've fallen into a previous structure like this, and you bounce, you end up seeing the same previous resistance act as resistance again in the future. It's not usually coincidental. But yeah, track the pace of the buyers here. See if there's any order books waiting around, or yeah, buy walls in the order books waiting around here. You might get a bounce and hit our head here, but I think ultimately we're heading down towards this valley area low, where we can prepare for pretty good shorts. Like based on the active structure that we've got going on, I think it's be pretty easy to trade into the long. Depends on what kind of structure we form between this point and here. We might build a little supply concern, only have one little barrier to worry about, and then target this next barrier. We have a wick level here that you can mark. Solana is famous for its SFPs. So you can mark this wick level, prepare for the SFP. If you want to be notified of when the SFP is about to occur, have a front run alarm right here. Let me just get rid of this watch list so it's easier for you guys to see here. I have my own little template for crossing alarms so people know what trend lines an alarm, what's not. Okay. We're going to do only once for the trigger. That way we get notified once it gets touched. If you do once per bar close, you might be too late. So just be aware, because it's not going to give you the alarm until a candle closes below it. And sometimes we will sweep and not close below it. So make sure you have the only once alarm set triggered. Or once per minute if you want to be annoyed until you come to your desk. We do have a 15-minute order block confluence there. So good reason for that to induce a bounce. So if I were to draw pathing and what I prepare for, it would either be the SFP or the bullish change of character reaction from a slight deviation of the value area low, and in hopes that we can have a good enough structure to target the all-time, not the all-time high, the value area high. That's Solana. So yeah, if you're not in existing shorts, you're waiting for longs. Bitcoin CME gap about to be filled. Nice. Welcome, Awesome Mystic. I don't think I've seen you in the chat before. Only if the Fed does... Pause it, we'll go back under 100K. Yeah, we can slip to 100K. A lot of people are targeting 100K right now. I personally think it's going to be front run. We got a good level here at 100. This is why there's just a lot of confluences prior to it that could induce a reversal. We have the value area low that we're approaching right now as we speak. We've got where my 108K level is here. We have a demand zone here, a previous value area high here. We have the 200-day EMA here. And just below it, we have a 55-day previous value area high there as well. So lots of reasoning for a reversal here as well, guys. But I know 100K would be a good place to prepare. But yeah, I think for the time being, we're going to get a bounce off of this. At least first, before going down there. We're almost in this liquidity cluster. We have this straight drop down, which is kind of nice when you're thinking about longs and the journey along the way back up. The barriers that we're creating is very small in comparison to what we're normally used to, right? And we do have like a supply zone here that was just created. But other than that, we still have our existing 113K level that will likely still act as resistance when we come back up there. Who's that behind you? That's Jim Cramer. Yeah, that's Jim Cramer the troll. You guys are only able to see the feet. But yeah. I lowered my desk for recording yesterday. So you're seeing Jim Cramer back there. Oh, we have the chat. Let's take a peek at our Zcash trade. Looking good. We're below the VWAP. Starting to get our change of character, but this needs to close. I don't think the indicator says change of character now, but let's see if we can change that. Because when you SFP, you lower your chalk level. So this is our change of character level, right? Because we had that 2 candle pullback, creating a strong low. We didn't have a proper pullback here, so we didn't create a strong low. And when we came down, we broke that. We actually got an SFP, so it actually lowered our chalk level. We have to have the body close below here now. One of our coaches in the community calls it step laddering, and I kind of adopted that terminology too. Brian McManus. Okay, almost there. I'm gonna mark an alarm here. The reason being is because I want to be notified when we're at these previous highs, just to be aware of what kind of structure we get when we tap that area. So I'm going to have my alarm. So if we have an opposing bullish change of character here, I will take some profits, depending on where the change of character level is. If it's flush with the VWAP, I'll definitely take profits if we break the VWAP in confluence with the bullish change of character. All right, alarm set. You guys will probably hear that alarm on your side. I kind of got it programmed for that. So I warn you ahead of time if it scares you, because sometimes it does jump scare me too. especially if you got those headphones in. All right, swept the lows here on Bitcoin. We're coming into that high liquidity zone that we found on our liquidation heat map. Let's go to the 24-hour for a second. See how the newly formed liquidity is being created. See, look at this. All that liquidity has been taken. We're starting to go cold. We're seeing new liquidity being added right now as we speak. People are jumping into their longs way too soon. I don't know what people are doing with this high leverage longs. Wait for something first. You can't just assume. Just because there's like liquidity there doesn't mean we're going to be using it as buyer's liquidity and actually get a reversal. You got to get that structure first. That's how you get knocked out. In situations like this, I tend to, especially when we have aggressive drops like this, I tend to want to look for like a bullish change of character and just, instead of just accepting a SFP sweep. Let me take a look at this here for a second. Okay, we're good. Yeah. I got to mark. Oh yeah, we tapped. Was that equal lows? Low of 111.110. Low of 111.09. So that these numbers at the top here, you see on your chart, this is open. These represent what's going on with the candle that you're hovering over top of. It's your open, your high, your low, your close. So sometimes it's helpful to look at those numbers to see if a certain candle has swept a low of a previous candle. Also, using the magnet tool to cling on to the price action makes it a lot easier too. But when you have a hairline like this, oh yeah, that went lower. So we swept that. 5 minutes until this is technically what's called a legacy SFP. And the legacy SFP target's really dramatic because we had such a harsh drop. It would technically be this high. But I don't trust it. We know that still liquidity below us and new liquidity is being added right now as we speak. People aping into their longs too soon. So I'll be looking for like a bullish change character if we're going to be jumping in longs here. Because I feel like I'm trading on the glass floor when we're not at like a value area low or value area high. See Cash doing well. Yeah. Yeah, it's crushing it. What is my... So I'm up $123 right now. I'll share my Blowfin. Yeah, stop loss right above the wick. Risk to lose $100. And I can never really get exactly pinpoint to the exact dollar. So I got 59 cents over my budget. The price action's incorrect on here. So I'm going to refresh this. Up like 10% against my risk. There we go. That's better. That looks like the actual price action. So at this point, I could move my stop loss to here. So now I'm only risking to lose $32 instead of my full 100. Up $124. I got my TP set for here. But I always have a TP set in case we just flash crash down and bounce back up. You always got to be aware of the what ifs, but depending on how we perform near these highs, I may just close this and prepare for the evolving target of the daily SFP that we were talking about before. It's looking good so far. We're just above our 1-to-1 based on our entry. You can see where we entered. It's right after this doji candle right here. You could have gotten right on the confirmation. But what we swept in the past, it was a legacy SFP, so sometimes I like to give it a little time to see what kind of decision it wants to make. And we're starting to head down, so we went on the candle close together as a community in the trade hunting call. But I'm glad that during this live we had a return back to these highs so you guys can join us on the trade. What's the consensus here in the chat? Is the top in? I'm actually curious about what you guys think about that. I already know what I feel, how I feel. I depend a lot on on-chain data to tell the story. I need to know what's going on in the background to tell a story. I have to get into the habit of creating polls for you guys for those kind of questions. I see other YouTubers. I'm kind of learning from other YouTubers and how they do engagement and stuff like that, because that's what I struggle with when I was like, because I'm a trader first, a YouTuber second. I'm not an entertainer. I don't know how to entertain. I can give you guys I answer all the questions you guys want, but I'm not really good at entertaining. So I got to get used to that without changing who I am. But I'll tell you, my opinion on the top is that this is not the top for me. On-chain data suggests that the bull market is evolving and not ending. We are in this Newport range here, right? There's a key level that we have to watch on the Newport chart, 0.5 to 0.6 level. Every time we reach that, we've had manipulation kick in, massive sell walls, right? We had massive sell walls between 3,500 Bitcoin. And if I go to the Bitcoin chart, I'll show you what it looks like relative to the Bitcoin chart. So this is the daily right here. And sorry about the mess again. But this is where it really started kicking in. The manipulation really started kicking in. Is around this range, right after we had the ETF's launch right here. And during this point, we had massive sell walls build. Those sell walls are great indications to prepare for shorts, which is kind of nice, right? But we have these massive sell walls build and price suppress here. And we come down and we get to like just below the 0.5 level on the Newport chart. So we come up here, get to the 0.6 level on the Newport chart, get to the 0.5 level on the Newport chart. Here, 0.5 level on the 0.6 level on the Newport chart, and now we're starting to head back down to that 0.5 level again. And if I show you on the Newport chart how it looks, if I zoom out first, all, okay. So this has helped me call the bottoms and the tops for Bitcoin for each cycle that I was involved in. I started as a trader around 2019. This has helped me call the top when we got overheated. The overheated level is around 0.7. When we get to 0.7, freak out when you have a daily opposing change of character, because that's very, 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 very likely to be the all-time high for the cycle. We have not had that yet. Instead, we had price suppression at the 0.6 level, and we keep pulling back to the 0.5, 0.45, and every time we get there, price suppression brings the price down. It's like they're coiling up for a big move, shaking out retail as much as they can, because we look at on-chain data and we look at the addresses and the balances of the addresses. It's all the low balance addresses that are getting shaked out, and the sharks and the whales that are accumulating more and more and more, and those addresses are growing. And zooming back in so you guys can see it a little bit better, go to the year to date. Right, we just recently, from that crash that we had, well, I guess it's not considering the wick into this, but here around 106K, we were below this level, right? And now we're starting to rotate back up slowly to like the 0.58, 0.6 level, where I'm going to be very careful around that area. If I start seeing a massive sell walls again, and I'm anticipating for this to be around, like based on the cooldown that we just had, I'm anticipating for this to be around like 140K. And around 140K, yeah, that's going to be the spot where I'm anticipating massive sell walls and price suppression to occur again, and then drive us right back down to the 0.5 level. But if instead we see like continuation posture instead of reversal posture and no evidence of giant sell walls, then I think the blow off top is going to happen around 200K, and us to be in the overheated zone on Newport chart. And once we have that daily bearish change of character, I'm selling all of my Bitcoin. And I'll post it on Twitter, I'll post it on YouTube, I'll post it inside the Discord so everyone's aware when I'm selling my Bitcoin. Because I don't want to be holding this thing. So I don't want to go too in detail on that. But so when we get to around like 200K, daily bearish change of character, overheated in the new pull chart, that's where I'm anticipating the all-time high to be for this cycle. But normally we have a pretty significant conduit in the news that also sparks the drop too, but we could front run all that. It's going back to the 15-minute. I do got to head out in about 15 minutes or so, guys. I'm going to time crunch. I'm helping Alex with crypto with something. And I got a video that I want to release for you guys on Friday. That's a lot of fun. We got a candle close. We didn't get the SFP sweep off of this, so we can delete that. That's been invalidated, at least on the 15-minute time frame. The hourly, like I said before, I really want to have that bullish, opposing change of character first before thinking about entering longs. And we're getting close to the value area low, where I'll feel a lot more comfortable. Even though there's a lot of liquidity here, doesn't mean we have to have a reversal here. Around this value area low, maybe we'll get this sweep here at 109,608 and start targeting the value area high. And that it's just another ping pong effect between the 200 and the 50-day EMA, right? We have this is the daily 50 right here on my screen, and this is the 200 EMA right here on my screen. And these create crunches in the price action. My win rate usually drops when we're trading between this, but this time around I actually have been doing really well. Just something that I noticed about myself and how the price action kind of adjusts behavior. I think it's because of the value area confluence kind of syncing alongside with the 250-day EMA data. That's kind of helped assist with the trades rather than cause resistance in the trade. Because like around, if I'm going to be, just to be open with you guys, around here, I hated this so much. I couldn't stand this. But this was, when we finally broke out of that, I was so happy. Broke the downtrending momentum. We had a confirmation formation structure, break a structure, follow through, change of character on this large double bottom. It screamed that we were at least coming back to this value area. And we broke right through it instead. But if we look at macro, if we look at this here, one thing that might make some traders nervous, and like this is one of my confirming the all-time high rules, but it's only one of 5. So only one of my 5 rules for calling the top has been met. This is the momentum of the pace of the buyers since we started the bull market at 16K. Or at least that's when we started predicting that this was the bull market. We started buying Bitcoin at 16.5K. That's when I entered in my inverse perpetual long. And we just lost that recently. And we zoom in, we're seeing that we're potentially using it as resistance. I know there's so much noise, it's hard to see, but we're kind of like hitting as resistance. So I'm anticipating that we're going to range here instead and have a continuation to the upside. That this isn't the top. The on-chain metrics just say no. And like right now, as we speak, the capitulation point for Bitcoin is around 70K. And that's when over 50% of holders are holding at a loss. And every single time we see Bitcoin come down to the capitulation state, that we have a massive reversal, and it usually sparks a bull market, a massive bull market. Coma, backtesting call today. Yeah, we have our backtesting call today at 3:30 until 5. Justice says that Alex is going to stream FOMC. All right, on. All right, cool. We're getting a little bit of bounce off of our VWAP. We did have that break below it, but now we're kind of like pulling up a little bit. This is our downtrending momentum right here. I don't know why, but from my last edit there, it kind of had that memory. There we go. But yeah, we flip bullish if we break here. My stop loss has been evolved to here from the short. Zoom in on the 3-minute. We didn't have a proper healthy pullback here, but we do have like that double bottoming kind of posture. So if we hit our head, we need to be hitting our head now. Because we did hit our head off this previous low, inducing this sell shadow wick, driving the price back down a bit. We're kind of like sweeping that high again. So now we need to come down and close below here. Based on Bitcoin's posture being at a high liquidity zone, I can see why Zcash is having that bullish reaction. But yeah, we don't really have the reversal posture yet from Bitcoin. If we had reversal posture on Bitcoin, the bullish change of character, then I'll be a little bit more cautious with the Zcash trade. But right now, everything's still kind of telling us that we don't have evidence yet of a reversal. Coma, Ethereum 15-minute SFP with crazy R&R. Oh, let's take a peek. Ethereum. We got a lot of tabs now. So let's look in the 15-minute. Oh, we have a bullish SFP. Technical target. It's way up here. Supply zone in our face, though, right here. So yeah, we did get that sweep. Good eye there, Coma. Not sure if you took the trade, but it confirmed right here. Your stop loss would be below this wick. Your technical target would be here. Your reactional based exit, if needed, is here. So if you have an opposing change of character or evidence of reversal in this zone, you should take some off the table. We have the VWAP there. We have supply here. We have previous highs here that kind of already been tested here. So just be very cautious in case we have an opposing change of character here. Probably on the 3-minute. You can use the 3-minute for that because the 15-minute is not going to give you the posture for that. But yeah, this is the technical target. It is really good R&R. So 1 to 7. Where you are right now, so 1 to 5.8. So you want to at least get to your 1 to 2, 1 to 3 area here. You can start taking some off the table. If you close half at your 1 to 4, and then you move your stop loss to break even, and your stop loss were to get hit, you would have secured at least a 1 to 2. Mathematically. Risk to lose 100, you would have gained 200 in that kind of scenario. So it's going to healthy to TP in opposing confluences like this. Take a peek at Zcash. Zcash is still, got the drive down from the momentum. We want this to be bearish engulfing. We want this to close below here for that extra confidence that we're going to be coming down lower. This is only a 3-minute though. 5 is still like showing us wick posture against these bodies as resistance. But yeah, we definitely want to have that break of structure follow through. So the VWAP's on our side. And then we have this new high as a stop loss guard. And we can evolve our stop loss from our break even to our into the profit zone. Good eye on that, Coma. Hopefully you took it. So far it's looking great. And we have some relative weakness on Zcash, which is nice. And Zcash has so much relative strength, it makes sense for it to have some relative weakness. All right, we got that barely engulfing response, but it's still an engulfing candle in the 3-minute. at least body-wise. I think wick to wick, it's pretty on edge. I think this green candle is lower. The low is 333. Yeah, 33127, and on this one it is 33125. Okay, so this red candle is lower, at least on Binance. I'll send this back. If you ever find like the candles are the opacity of your long position tool or your short position tool is just annoying, just right click on it, visual order, send it back, and then your candles are brought to the front. It's a lot easier to see what's going on, because when you have the green on green, sometimes it's a little hard to see. What's wrong with being one of like 2 to 3 YouTubers that are actually real? You're doing a great job. I know what you mean, man. We have 123 views right now, or close to our record. What's up, guys? Subscribe, like, share, all the other things the other YouTubers say, right? What tips do you have for trading FOMC? You've noticed anything or maybe have a plan? Honestly, man, when it comes to FOMC, it's good to stay away from the charts. If you're in a position where you're already in an existing trade and you have some distance away from it, stay in your position, of course, but just be aware that the FOMC can manipulate it to start going against you. A lot of times when FOMC is very predictable, things are already priced in and you don't see a very harsh reaction. But when things are unpredictable and then something wild happens, then the markets tend to be a little bit crazy. So it's good just not to trade during FOMC because market structure gets disrespected. You get what's called like whipsaw candles, where you have like, it feels like you're looking at Darth Vader's rod here. You have like candles like this that just go all over the place as a form of indecision. I say rod, I meant saber. Don't hate me. But yeah, I'd recommend staying away when it comes to FOMC. Like if you see market structure evidence, like we saw this morning with this S&P here telling us that we're likely to go down, it usually coincides with what kind of reaction we're going to get from the FOMC anyways. But you have to make sure that you've entered in with lots of time prior to that in hopes that you have some distance. A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll just close their trades too once FOMC starts if they don't have that distance. What time is FOMC? It says 2 p.m. Eastern on Forex. So Forex suggests that that's when it starts. Apparently there's been front run news on this, but yeah, right here, 2 o'clock. It's the prediction, the forecast is a deduction of 0.25 basis points. So cheaper debt. It's likely in reaction to jobs. Jobs are looking terrible. People are being replaced by AI. Okay. Yeah, Pluff, you said it correctly. If you're new, don't trade FOMC. FOMC brings, it just diminishes your probability of your strategy. So if you have like all your rules met, let's say your rules are a break of momentum, out of value low, and a bullish change character, and that all seems to occur right when an FOMC meeting occurs, it's good to just step away from that one trade. And if it goes your direction and you're right, then awesome. You can log that, but it's usually best to stay away. It does look like Bitcoin is consolidating. I think there's a chance that we could come up to retest this previous point control and these previous lows. If it doesn't happen here, the reversal is going to happen around here. At this previous value low, we have a wick level we can prepare for that sweep. But yeah, 110 10,270 is a great spot to prepare for longs if we don't have the reversal structure here. Coma. Thanks, man. Yeah, you can use the code ATH to save 50% on your first month or 20% off the year. Full house in here, yeah. Andrew, how you doing, man? How's the little one? Got the little hobbit kicking around. Is there an asset you guys want to take a peek at? W. Oh, we got to talk about W. Okay, so W, if we look on the daily, this bad boy is at. Zoom out first. You can see that we're kind of in this forever downtrend since its launch, right? And we're starting to establish support. We just recently hit the downtrending macro momentum, but we've been ranging here for 240 days, right? And being at a 240-day value area low is pretty significant. So there's an opportunity to prepare for a potential front run of a break of this macro downtrending momentum since we're getting squeezed off of the value area low point of interest. Crypto is an impatient space. I don't know what the conduit's going to be to induce the reversal in terms of news or development. It's suggesting it squeezed for up to 60 days. But right now as we speak, we're coming down towards this local demand zone. And we just mitigated an hourly order block. So if Bitcoin continues to go down towards its value area low at 110,270, I could see us sweeping this low here, giving us inducing a reversal for a bullish SFP, and maybe breaking downtrending momentum for continuations. We'd have to take it one step at a time, but basically, yeah, here we could prepare for the SFP, look for the SFP target, hope that the SFP induces a change of character, and then gives us a continuation towards new highs and breaking this downtrending, this descending triangle here. Descending triangles, when they break to the upside, the technical target is just the high, but this is a great spot to prepare to front run all of that. I'm sure that Bitcoin's going to have a reversal alongside it to help you carry it up. This can be moved here. It's a big, strong key level. But yeah, being at a macro value area high like this, I could see that this could be a potential really good opportunity to prepare for longs. If we look at the internal squeeze, it doesn't suggest 68 days. It only suggests about 4 days. And we know crypto, if you guys don't know this rule yet, when you see formations in crypto, they normally will break out 30% prior to the apex point. So we're pretty much at that point now. So if we're going to prepare for the big move to occur soon, for our W, it'd be happening very soon. So I think this is going to be a wild opportunity. We'll have to take, like I said, one step at a time. SFP to SFP targets, change of character requirement after that, then look to supply, then hope for break of the highs for continuations from there. But the big boss would be this guy here, alongside with the confluence of the 50-day EMA. And we have supply here that's running alongside the point of control too that we got to watch out for. But this is a good spot to prepare. So we need to have an SFP here or a bullish change of character on the hourly would be a great one. The bullish change of character on the 15-minute isn't really significant because it doesn't lead us back inside the macro value area yet. We have to break this high, which is where the hourly change of character will come and play. So I'll be looking at the hourly for the hourly SFP or for the hourly bullish change of character to know that I'm likely going to be going into a position of strength. What is H-bar all about? We can talk about the price action if you like. The asset itself is interesting. There's a nano smart contract technology that allows people to basically mint contracts just by playing with a toggle switch. You don't need to know how to code to create your own smart contracts because of HBAR. So that's why HBAR is kind of doing extremely well right now. So if we go to the HBAR's price action, I don't know if I have an HBAR tab open. I do. Okay. HBAR, we talked about that already, where we lost this parabolic curve. When you see like this fish hook like kind of posture, this is called a parabolic curve. And when they break, it normally brings us back down to the lows of the curve. Because you got to think of this as liquidity, this trend line as a liquidity line. And we come down every time we have a low, strong low created. You got to visualize the order flow. We have stop losses below these lows. We have liquidation levels below these lows. So when we lose this momentum, we tend to fall and start taking the liquidity that was just taken. And we end up creating a neckline to a potential double bottom during that situation. If we zoom out a little bit, we can see we have uptrending momentum on HBAR. And this double bottom, if we do produce a double bottom here, we'll be honoring this neckline as support for this massive double bottom posture just after mitigating this liquidity here from this spike up. So here, if we build this rounded bottom, test the uptrending momentum, it could help us induce this more macro break of structure for continuation back into its previous range. Zooming out on the 4 hour here. And this range has been, we had this consolidative range for, about 90 days. So getting acceptance back inside that value area again would give us a rotation likely to the value area high at 26 cents. So this rounded bottom that we're potentially forming soon again could be a front run to that break of structure, and then that break of structure would notify us that we could get that full rotation to the value area high. And of course, we have barriers along the way. Like we have a 4 hour order block here that could induce a pullback, but then we have the value area on our side, and we can use it as a guard to our capital once we had that follow-up break of structure inside the value area. But this is a descending triangle as well, similar to what we're seeing on W. And in this case, we broke to the downside. You get the story of a descending triangle is basically that the seller's confidence is getting stronger and stronger, but the buyers are trying to defend a demand zone. And this was the demand zone right here that we're defending until we finally lost it. The order books tell a really good story in these because you'd see like massive buy walls just waiting around here. But once the buy wall is gone and you see that there's still sell walls following the trend line, then it tells you which side's likely going to win this battle when we break out. And unfortunately, the bears won. This was induced by the massive crash that we saw on October 10th. So everything kind of lost its structure during that day. But yeah, to jump in on this trade was tough. Like it was tough to trust, right? So we got into the supply zone. We came into a previous day VWAP, like two bearish things. We're coming into it like that. We had our bearish change of character on the 5 minute. This is stuff that I usually prefer to see on like the 15 minute so I can dissect stuff on the 3 minute. And then when you got that bearish change of character, you wouldn't like your stop loss guard being this high relative to your entry. So you'd hope for a pullback. And we got the pullback. So if you pull your fib here to here, you got your golden pocket. So you can enter with a limit order here, a stop loss in the same suggestive location after you got the bearish change of character. And then luckily, we lost the momentum shortly afterwards, lost the previous high as support, and now we're coming down and testing that support as resistance as we speak. So the reason why I'd say it would be tough to enter, even though we had all those confluences, is just because of the time frame I didn't like. So like, I prefer this to happen on the 15 minute so I can use the 3 minute to look for an opposing change of character in our 786 golden pocket zone, and then enter based off of that, knowing that we're going to have weakness. But instead we had like a tweezer kind of top reaction, which is tough to trust until it's kind of like too late. Like you would have to wait for the lows to kind of be taken or the engulfing candle to be at least beyond the equilibrium point. In this case, it was beyond the equilibrium point, which is the halfway point between a candle. But yeah, that's H bar. So right now it's kind of like a waiting game for longs, similar to what we were looking at with Bitcoin. Around here at 19,343, we have an order block on the 15-minute time frame. I can zoom in on the 15 so you can see it. Right here where we had this doji candle and then an impulse candle reaction after that. That's what an order block is by definition, guys. If you see like a indecision kind of base candle, your wick to wick is your order block, but your the confirmation is the engulfing candle here. It has to close above this. So long as it closes above that, we have our order block. So I'm thinking that we are on our way down to sweep this low and prepare for a bullish change of character around this area. And depending on how long we drag our feet to get there, we might have the uptrending momentum on our side too when we test it. When we get that bullish change of character occurrence. That's H bar. I hope that helps you out. Esther and Bitcoin correlation too strong, I think. Oh, do you? Let's take a look. We have an Esther chart. Lewis went long. Did you get the SFP? Yeah, we're in the supply zone now for the SFP, so just be a little cautious for Ethereum. Let's go back to Esther. Esther lost its horizontal support. When we were looking at Esther last, we were looking for potential SFP sweep of this low. And we got it here. Congrats to anyone who might have taken that. I didn't catch that one, unfortunately. Let's update this. So we had our supply zone here that we were watching. That was mitigated from this double top. It was helpful to prepare us for the short. The neckline break was probably your opportunity. You can move this now here. Still, it's just a higher area of interest now. If we clone this, let's delete this, clone this, move it here. We supply zone in confluence with these previous lows. We used this valley area, this previous valley area as resistance during this moment. Warning us that we're going to come down to a previous valley area or create a new one. So that was great confluence for this drop. Let me take a peek at our position. Okay, still looking good for Zcash and our short. Let's go back to Esther. Sorry about that. I have an alarm set down here. I should probably delete that. Mark this low at 93.04. Can mark our local area as well in case we get a local SFP. We met the requirements for this to be considered an SFP. When we create a wick, you need to see at least a 2 candle pullback on that time frame, and we got 3 consecutive ones. So if we do come down here for an SFP, then we qualify for an SFP. We came into this demand zone right here. We have a couple actually, one on top of the other. A little awkward when you see that kind of stacking. This is a great one here. Demand zones, for those who are new, what you want to look for is like an impulse move, base of structure, impulse move. And then you got yourself a demand zone. Same thing for supply zones. Impulse move down, structure, impulse move down. And this was supply, which basically helped drive the price down when we came up through here and caused resistance when we came through here the second time around. So we need to adjust this to look more bullish. for psychology. And we can see that we got that bounce in that area. Did we sweep a low? We did get a legacy SFP off this low. I don't think the SFP target is going to be hit, unfortunately. When we swept this low right here with this candle, it gave us a SFP technical target of this high. So I just don't think that we are going to be able to breach through these previous lows resistance. I think we're more likely to turn around. Especially since we have this, the target itself is a supply zone with the 15-minute order block and a VWAP in confluence with that. So I think we're going to get our head hit off that area. So what I'd look for Esther, guys, is just that return for a sweep for an SFP and hit the local target, which currently the local target suggestion based on the active price action, this could definitely change. But right now it's suggesting this high. All we would need is like a low, a 2 candle pullback to evolve that target to a lower level. Okay. Yeah, Bitcoin's consolidating, kind of looking a little bear flaggy, but it's really young. So just give you guys a recap because I do got to head out. I got a call with a community member in 10 minutes. So here, I'm looking for longs, preferably at 110, 300 area. If we get this bullish change of character or an SFP off 109.6, then I'm looking for longs to start targeting a rotation to the value area high up here at 113K. With barriers along the way, of course. Like we've created new ones. We created this one here. I could mark that up for you guys who are using my charts. We had a sell wall that induced this drop. That sell wall could reappear there, just to be aware. All right, so let's delete this. This represented a sell wall that we saw in the order books. All right, so we'll be looking here for potential longs. If we don't get the reversal structure here, our Zcash short is looking good so far. We just had a descending double top when we're testing this downtrending momentum. What we really want to see, what we don't want to see is a bullish change of character off of these previous highs. So I have my alarm set here so I can be aware to look at the charts during that time and notify the community if we need to take some profits or get out. If we break through that, then awesome. This is our next spot, which is where our technical target is, right here. This is our next spot that we need to prepare for an opposing change of character that could warn us to take some profits or get out. But ultimately, what we really, really, really hope for is a break of this low because of the daily structure is telling us that we're coming down because of this daily SFP from the macro previous all-time high. The daily structure is suggesting that we're coming down to $227.52, way down here from our last pullback. We do have to watch, other than the lows that are local price action, we do have to watch the point of control. We have double distribution here. So that means we have two strong areas of interest with this valley area that could induce a bounce. So you got to treat it like there's 2 points of control. So that's why I got two labeled here. I got one labeled here at 268 and one here at 238. And both of them are prior to hitting our target. I'd be super happy just hitting our local target. But we do have that chance where our trade could evolve to like a 1 to 10. And depending on your stop loss, could even be like a 1 to 20. But yeah, it's looking good so far. Go to my Blowfin. I do recommend if you guys are looking for an exchange that's safe, I do recommend Blowfin. They have like a lot of good reserves. I do have a link down below to save you guys money on fees. Like 20% gets returned back to you as cash. I know I sound like one of those sales guys, but no. Always pick your exchange based on the reserves and security, not based on the fees. All right? If they're not showing their reserves, like for example, KSEX, then you have no idea what they're doing with your money. All right? And you have no idea how stable they are from a crash like we saw recently. And some of them could be bleeding right now and you know it. Can we look at render? I really wish I could, man. I can for you next time. My next live's on Friday. I do a big giveaway on Friday too, $6,000 prop fund account, and we're giving away a free membership as well to the community. You can reach out to me inside the Discord server and send me a message there, and I can look at render for you after the call I'm about to do in 8 minutes. But yeah, guys, I gotta head out. You have yourself an amazing day. I hope this live has helped you in some way, and if it has, please subscribe, share it to your friends, like, all that fun stuff. I had a lot of fun with you guys. We had a lot of people attend today, so glad to see you guys all coming here. Have a great day, guys.